Hello everybody, my name is Andrew Russell and we are back at it with some Blender 2.8 and we're going to be doing donut tutorial. So we're going to be continuing along with Blender Guru aka Andrew Price's donut tutorial. So here's my Blender instance. I'll make it a bit smaller so I can head over here. So basically, long story short is I'm running through this Blender beginner tutorial. Last time I did level 1, I'm going to keep going with level 2. Let me just adjust my microphone. Okay, so his looks like that. Mine, I don't think mine looks quite so good. Oh, I closed it. That's a good start. Yeah, so this was this is my result. I mean, I think I've been a bit conservative on the thickness of the icing, perhaps. And obviously, I think he's using much better render settings than me too. He's got the denoiser and I haven't got that set up yet, and I'm obviously using a very small number of samples because my computer is, you know, a potato. I like his light position though. It's got a nice sort of reflection here, whereas I'm going from the front, so I've got this one here. The way he gets a light reflection here and here is very nice. He's gone for like a lighter pink icing, whereas I've tried to make mine a bit darker. I'm okay with mine. It's not too bad. I think, yeah, his is just a lot thicker than mine, which is interesting. I think, you know, if I were wanting to do this well, I think I would try and make the icing thicker, make it a bit more cartoony. But anyway, do I want to do a clean up on that before moving on? Maybe not. So here's the donut, and as you can see, you know, there's not as much thickness there. I could I mean, I could use what I learned and add some. I mean, yeah. Let's do that. Let's try and review. What do we want to do? We want constraints. What's this? I need to find modifiers, and what I want is I think a solidify modifier on the donut. Oh no, because he did it with just a thin sheet, and it's obviously not going to work very well for that. So maybe not that one. I don't know if there's anything. Skin. Oh, that's made my computer very sad. I'll just wait for it to think a bit. All I wanted to do is make it a bit thicker, but apparently too much for the 8-year-old machine. I may actually have to kill Blender if it's going to sit there, either taking forever or crashing. That's unfortunate. Let's just start again. Alright, attempt to. Alright, so we won't try and thicken up the donut icing, but it's worth noting that, you know, going for something nice and thick is good. And maybe it would be worth, like, after doing a draft, I mean, obviously he's done several drafts to do this, it might be worth like doing another run with what I've learned and seeing if I can make something even better. But for now, I think we'll just keep moving on because, you know, we want to continue this tutorial. So we're going to start with particles, and I've got his video speed cranked right up.
Welcome to the next echelon of donuts. I don't know what that means. This is level 2. You graduated, guys. You made it. We're going to continue learning the basics of Blender, but getting just a little bit more advanced as well. It's beginner. Of course it's beginner, but, you know, progressing past the basics of the basics. So let's start with some sprinkles, because that is something everybody is dying. You know, I've been reading the hashtags and the trends of the global Twitter, and everyone's just going wild for sprinkles. No, they're not. But let's pretend they are. So we're going to add some sprinkles to our donut. Now, right now we've got things in our outline here. We mentioned the outline, top right-hand corner. And they were just kind of like thrown in here. We've got the archive, you know, which we created before we did the sculpting and everything. But it's all just kind of thrown in. And if we're going to start adding extra stuff like sprinkles and all this kind of stuff, it's going to get a little bit complicated. So let's just organize it a little bit. So I'm going to select my donut and my icing here, and I'm going to hit M for Mary, or move. It's probably a better one, move. And I'll give it a new collection, donut. There we go. So this little checkbox, by the way, in case you're curious, it'll hide it from both the viewport and the render. So it's like disabling something almost, but keeping it within your scene. And then it'll hide it, or move. It's probably a better one, move. And I'll give it a new collection. I'm going to select my donut and my icing here, and I'm going to hit M for Mary, or move. It's probably a better one, move. And I'll give it a new collection, donut. There we go. So this little checkbox, by the way, in case you're curious, it'll hide it from both the viewport and the render. So it's like disabling something almost, but keeping it within your scene. And then I guess I'll have one for my plane. We'll call it the environment. So I just selected the plane, M, new collection, environment, and then this stuff I can just rename this collection. I'll just call it cam and light, or light, camera, action. Right, so something like that. Okay, what was that? Something just flashed on screen. Cool, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to hide the environment, I'm going to hide the donut, I'm going to hide the scene, and we are going to add in our very...
Well, that didn't work out the way I wanted. That's interesting that you can... Okay, so we learned something. That is, if you group just the donut, it doesn't take the icing with it, so... Okay, new collection, and we're going to call that donut. Okay, so we've got the donut, we've got our icing, can turn it on and off, great. It's already in a collection. I'll put the plane in there for now. Alright, let's carry on.
Very first singular sprinkle. So if you look at reference photos of sprinkles, let me pull it up here. Ignore my tabs here, I've just been watching some Theo Vaughn. Love that guy. So these are the sprinkles. And you'll notice that, I mean, for one, there's no like uniform, you know, Confederate standard of sprinkles. It's just like all sorts. There's some that are shiny, some that are dull, but they all seem to have a very similar shape. It's just like mostly straight, but with like slight little like wiggleness to them. Some of them are shiny, some of them are dull. But anyways, that's the kind of overall shape. So you could start with a like a cylinder object to become your sprinkle, but they've got like a rounded edge. So instead, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with a sphere. So we're going to go Shift A, Mesh, and we're going to go UV Sphere. Now by default, it's going to drop in this giant looking thing, and we'll set, yeah, first of all the size of it. I'm going to go to like 1 millimeter, like really, really, really small. And then for the segments, the rings here, and like basically.
Okay, so Shift A to add a sphere. It's huge. So what do we want? We wanted. We can copy his dimensions.
The resolution of the sphere. That's quite important because this is going to be basically duplicated all over the donut, like basically like 1,000 times. So any resolution you've got here is just multiplied by however many sprinkles you have. Point is if you have a high res sprinkle, one single sprinkle, for one, it's not even going to be visible in the render. Like it's so far away, it's not that detailed, but also it's just going to like drastically increase your render times. So I'm going to go with 12 segments and 6 rings. So very, very low res. And that's the radius. And there we go. If we bring in the donut, you can see how this looks in relation to it. In fact, I might as well move this over here like that. Just one little sprinkle, the start of a sprinkle. And I'm just going front. Oh, hang on, front. Yeah, I should have put it along the front actually, like that. And that's the radius. And there we go.
Alright, so we've got a sprinkle.
Bring in the donut, you can see how this looks in relation to it. In fact, I might as well move this over here, like that. Just one little sprinkle, the start of a sprinkle. And I'm just going front. Oh, hang on, front. Yeah, I should have put it all in the front actually, that's probably easier too. It's like when I'm working with a scene, I like to like keep my camera like looking down at the front angle, and then I have everything like positioned that way so I don't get kind of lost in which side view or front view, whatever. Anyway, so I'm just putting this on the left-hand side just for whatever, just keep it here, right? Okay, so with my sprinkle here, oh gosh, focus it, number pad, period. Okay, so we want it to look elongated, and so the way we're going to do that is obviously edit mode with tab, and then while we're in edit mode, I'm going to grab the top half of my vertices here, and you'll notice.
Okay. Alright, so I should know how to do this. So I'll leave it playing, but I
select
think
the
I
other side
want
to make sure
X-ray.
X-ray mode when you do that. So select the whole top half, and then if we would like to move it, like it would just, yeah, it would be elongated, but it would also be like tapered. Like basically, we want to like almost like create like a duplicate, like a middle part of it. So we're gonna hit E to extrude, which you remember was the same hotkey that we used to make those like dripply bits of the icing. So it basically kind of like takes that and yeah, like moves it up.
So what's going wrong here? Oh, I'm in proportional editing mode. Okay.
But then like adds a space between it. Anyway, you get the idea. Okay, so we got one.
Okay, so extrude is what we want. E for extrude. Alright, so we need to zoom out a bit so we've got enough room. And then we're going to extrude it. We're going to have a nice long sprinkle about that. Good.
Like that. And what I can do, because I want to make like that end that is kind of like the reference, of course. It's I mean, see if we can actually find a reference. But yeah, it's like it's rounded, but it's not like as round as it is. It's not like a sphere end. It's just like it's a hard cut. Basically, I watched video on how they did, but it's like they get like piping of like icing, and they just do like long lines on like a baking tray, and then they bake it.
So he's going to scale these down.
Like baked icing, and then I believe that's what it is, just like baked icing. Maybe these shiny manufactured ones. And
I feel like
yeah, you can.
I'm going to do it the opposite way to him because I feel like this is going to be better. So if we scale it on the y-axis. No, if we scale it on the z-axis, yeah. Bring that down to the size we want. And then we extrude it. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the way that he did it makes sense for the tutorial, but there's my little caption.
Apparently they're really easy to do. Anyways, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this along the z-axis. So if I hit S and then Z, that's doing the effect that I want it to do. It's just sort of tapering it in a bit. Like so, and I'll do the same thing with the bottom one. S, Z, and there we go, look at that. One singular sprinkle by itself. And while we're at it, we might as well go into shade smooth.
Oh,
this is
way ahead of him. Man, I'm
great.
expert.
With our donut here, we could, if we wanted to, we could, you know, grab it and like move it here, and then duplicate it, and rotate it, and etc., etc. But I'm pretty sure the tutorial would be 10 hours long, and I would be receiving death threats from people saying, "How dare you lull me into a tutorial and then hit me with duplication?" So there's a better way to do things. So there is, for something like this, you want to use basically it's called particle instances, which is where it's referencing one object and it's duplicating it over the top of the surface of another object. So that, we're going to do that. So I'm going to select my icing here, and there's the particle panel right here.
Okay.
And I'll move my...
Let's make that happen. I'll turn the donut back on and go over to the icing. And if I hover that window and hit period, I can get over there. Cool.
Little camera head out of the way so that we don't block this view. Okay, so I just click, oh yeah, by the way, I don't know why there's not a like new button, like materials has a new button or whatever, but then like particles, there's no button for like new, I'm sure, but anyway, it's the plus, top right button there, click plus, and it'll add a new particle. And if you were to hit play, like spacebar, you would see that you get these like white dots appearing. So just click, oh yeah, by the way, I don't know why there's not a like new button, like materials has a new button or whatever, but then like particles, there's no button for like new, I'm sure, but anyway, it's the plus, top right button there, click plus, and it'll add a new particle set. And if you were to hit play, like spacebar.
Okay, so let's do that. So we've got the icing. Is it this one? Particles? Context particles. Man. Weird the way the type of the I mean, it might make sense if you like get really deep with the way this works, but like it's just weird the way that has a thing. It is weird the way that has a thing. What am I saying? Yeah, the way it's got a type at the front of it. Okay, so let's add a particle system to this. And let's see, yeah, and if we play it, we get all the particles, just like he said we would.
You would see that you get these like white dots appearing. So there are two types of particles. There are like emission types, which are like animated essentially, and then you've got hair, which are static. So now if I play, you can see nothing happens. So hair is the one we actually want, even though it doesn't look like it. For each one of these strands, we're going to reference that single sprinkle there. So you can do that by going to underneath render, right there. Render.
Slowing down a bit.
Rendering as a path or a strand, which is great for hair for a character. But in our case, we want to instead render as an object, and then the object that we're
render as object sphere. I'm just going to go shut my door very quickly. Okay, so we've render as object. So the dropper doesn't work on this window, which is a bit pathetic. I can do it that way.
we're going to reference this instant object. We're going to click this little eyedropper here, and the eyedropper allows you to just basically click any object in your scene, and there we go. Look at that. We have little single sprinkles over our donut. So
Cool.
the size of them is defined by this size right here. So this is really how you're going to decide. I got a bird outside my window. I'm not sure if you can hear that. It's going to decide how, yeah, like some, like really, there's no uniform sprinkle either. Like some are like really like thin and like almost like, yeah, like little hair particles, something like this, so thin. And then others just like thick and chunky. So really like make the sprinkle that you feel best suits your needs.
See,
Okay, so that's the scale.
I feel like he's got more of an artistic knack for this than I do, and that is like I would be sort of inclined, as I've done with the icing, to be like, oh, we'll make sort of nice small sprinkles perhaps, whereas he's like, no, crank that shit, because these are obviously not going to take up that much space on screen in the final render, so I think we want actually a bit of chunkiness to them. So carry on.
And then there's another setting here, scale randomness, which I normally would use because, by the way, this settings, like this particle settings and what I'm doing here, this is how you make like rocks across a landscape. You just like use this and go, and for this case, scale randomness is perfect because then you've got rocks of different sizes. But it's not like shrinking them like just along one axis. It's also like it's scaling them. So sprinkles they're all like the same thickness essentially. So this setting actually doesn't work for us a little bit, but anyway. The main setting I know you're all thinking right now is like they're all facing the same direction, so that's not good. So we need to change the rotation, and for rotation, you need to use advanced settings. Check the box. I don't know, I mean, honestly, in my opinion, it shouldn't even just be an advanced setting, because I've always used advanced settings, because you always need rotation. So anyway, check advanced, and then under rotation, we're going to check that box, click the little drop down, and orientation axes, we want to use normal. And it'll still be facing a direction, but it'll be a different direction. And you might think randomize is the one that we need right there. But randomize will, it'll rotate them on a different axis to the point that they're like standing up on top of each other, like facing upwards, which isn't right. What we want is this one, randomize phase. So when I do that, they're staying along like their same rotation, but it's like rotating along that axis, not the other axis. Anyways, there we go. Though having said that, I will use a little bit of random amount here because sprinkles, like they land on top of melted icing, right? And some of them will land like top on like that, and they'll like maintain a little bit of this rotation. So they won't be like crazy, it won't be like that, but they will have like a little bit of like tilt to them, essentially.
That's looking delightfully sprinkly.
So, well and good so far. One thing to note though is if we just hide the underlying donut, if we go underneath, you will see that we have sprinkles underneath our icing as well as on top. So this is, in edit mode, you can see it's one solid object. And right now, Blender doesn't know that the sprinkles are supposed to go just on the top. So it's just placing them everywhere. So what we want to do is we want to define which parts are going to have the sprinkles, and we're going to do that in weight paint mode. So with our icing selected, object, weight paint mode. Or by the way, if you want a hotkey, Control Tab will bring up a pie menu with all of those options up there. So that's kind of handy. So weight paint mode.
Okay, so what did he do? He went edit. No. I mean,
a little bit of like tilt to them, essentially. Great. So all well and good so far. One thing to note though is if we just hide the underlying donut, if we go underneath, you will see that we have sprinkles underneath our icing as well as on top. So this is, in edit mode, you can see it's one solid object. And right now, Blender doesn't know that the sprinkles are supposed to go just on the top. So it's just placing them everywhere. So what we want to do is we want to define which parts are going to have the sprinkles, and we're going to do that in weight paint mode. So with our icing selected, object, weight paint mode, or by the way.
Okay, object, weight paint mode. Got it. Object, weight paint. Sweet. Could get the tablet out for this, but let's see what he does.
Hotkey, Control Tab will bring up a pie menu with all of those options up there. So that's kind of handy.
Okay,
So weight paint,
Control
weight
Tab
paint.
is that.
And when you do this, it'll go blue.
Yeah.
And essentially what you're looking at is, like, what was the name of that movie with the aliens? Aliens vs Predator, the one with the Predator, and it's like heat vision mode. That's what you're looking at. So blue means 0 weight. Now if I just click anywhere on here, you'll see you get like heat paint map. Red means 1, blue means 0, and then these values in between are obviously values in between. So the red values is where the sprinkles are going to appear. So if you try painting, it's going to be very slow, and that's because our particles are turned on. So if we just disable, click that little monitor thing there, it'll just disable it from the viewport. So now when we draw, it's going to be a lot faster.
Use the tablet for this.
By the way, as sculpting, F will change the size of your brush. And again, if you want to bring up that tool setting thing here, which probably should be on by default, but for whatever reason it's not, these are like the weight and the strength of your brush. Like you could go like a low strength and just kind of paint. But anyway, default settings are fine, and I'm just going to paint like along the top here, like so. And I just want to make sure that there is. Oh, that's weird. Why am I allowed to paint right there? Oh, strength. Oh, I was confused as to strength, full strength, but paint a weight of 1. There we go. Yeah, so I want to make sure that there are parts of it that, especially down here, the sprinkles would obviously fall off if it was like on an angle too extreme. So I just want to make sure it's just on the top. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to like into too much detail for a beginner tutorial, but I want the result to look good. And I've seen, the past 3 years of people on Twitter adding me into their rendered result that they finished.
Okay.
All these notes. I'm like, you should fix this. This is too uniform. This is, and it's like, well, I should have put that in the tutorial, shouldn't I? If everybody's got the same problems, it means it's my fault from the tutorial. So anyway, I'm just trying to make it.
What do we reckon?
That's fine, right? I'm just yabbering. So Control Tab, and I'm going to go back to Object.
That's pretty good.
So bring back our sprinkles, and then the way that we tell the particle system to use that weight paint is by right down here underneath vertex groups. So you can choose a whole bunch of different properties that will be controlled by that, but the one we're looking for is density, and it's group. By the way, if you mess up your
back to object
like
mode,
weight paint,
that
or whatever,
one.
you can't find it. Like it's here, vertex groups. So whenever you start painting, it'll create a new vertex group, and it'll be right up underneath vertex groups, our sprinkles. And then the way that we tell the particle system to use that weight paint is by right down here underneath vertex groups. So you can choose a whole bunch of different properties that will be controlled by that. But the one we're looking for is density and its group. By the way, if you ever mess up your like your weight paint, or for whatever reason you can't find it, it's here, vertex groups. So whenever you start painting, it'll create a new vertex group, and it'll be right here. But if you ever mess up, you can just come to here and then click that little minus button. That'll delete that, and then you can click plus and you can add a new one. Yeah. Anyways.
Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I mean, I almost have too many sprinkles. Like, maybe I should turn that down a bit. How do we do that? I have this weird feeling I've done this before. Like, there's this very odd feeling that, you know, that I've been in here in the past. Anyway, we'll continue on.
There you go.
See if
so
he's
we
got
now have it on
a
top
way
of
of
the icing,
editing
where
the
it
weights,
should
because
be
I don't think he's
ready.
done that
We've got
before.
some sprinkles, you know. We're going to get to that in the following parts. The sprinkle step, it's a little advanced. It's a little, it's not advanced, it's a little involved. So this is going to be split up over a couple of videos. So in the next part, we will be adding some more variations to our sprinkles, some different colors and different things like that. So go ahead, click here to watch that next video, and I will see you there. This tutorial series is brought to you by Polygon. Make better renders faster. Welcome back. We have
just gonna
sprinkles, but they are
autoplay.
they look more like Tic Tacs.
All right, so I want to just reduce the density if I can. Okay, yeah, here we go, number 1,000. So let's just turn that down. Just want to, oops. Just want to optimize the sprinkle placement before we get too crazy. I mean, there's a lot of settings in here we can play with. I mean, I want to zero that. I wonder if there's like a zero command. All right, I mean, that's all fine. That's cool. All right, let's carry on.
They're all the same color, and what's the fun of sprinkles if they're not different colors? So let's change the color. So
Actually, I want to viewport shading. Now I'm still using Eevee for this, aren't I? I mean, that's pretty cool. Now I can get a rough idea of what our sprinkles are doing. So let's carry on.
So the color of the sprinkle is defined by the material of the single sprinkle that it is referencing. So that is the object mode. This little guy right here.
I mean, I can try and turn down the size a little bit, maybe. Then I can have a few more sprinkles. All right, let's keep going.
So if we went, you know, to the material panel and then
It's
we
like
added a material,
coconut dusting.
looking at our donut here, you can see if we made these blue, then hey, look at that, we have blue sprinkles. But that's not going to help us because they're all the same color. Now, you know, we could duplicate this and make like a whole bunch of different ones with different colors, and that was actually the way I did the first tutorial 3 years ago because I actually thought that was easier for people to follow. But the best way to actually create a randomized color set on your sprinkles like this is to actually do something with the material nodes and get a little bit fancy. So let's, at the top here, along the top bar, you've got an option which we haven't clicked on yet called shading. Okay, so shading mode is, I mean, by the way, these modes...
Okay. I mean, I think you just hit shading, so let's do that. I want dot where's why is the camera control not working in this mode? Like, that's a bit unfortunate. Layout, shading. Oh, yes, and I think do I have to change that right down? Just preemptively. Anyway, keep
They're
going.
just like screen layouts, like these layouts, and then it'll put you into a specific type of, like, this is just the 3D view, but it's put you into look dev mode up here. But you could go into, like, rendered mode, etc. And then this thing down here, this is
Okay,
nodes, the
that
node
worked.
viewer for materials, right? So this is, you can find that in shader, editor, and then you've got object, etc. Anyway,
No, I should.
make sure you've got the sprinkles
I
selected,
need
the one that is blue, right?
the renderer
And,
on.
what we want to do is we want to add in a control which will make it so that, yeah, this color here, this blue color, is randomized depending on which particle it is.
Okay, so I think we need to do what he did before, which is new material. Okay, and then we get this thing. Make that a bit smaller. Okay.
So this, by the way, all these settings that you see here, the reason they might look familiar is that they are the exact same settings that you see over on the right-hand side. This right-hand side, this bar here with all the settings, it's just like an easier way to access it, to change these settings. But if you need...
Okay, so I can have that one centered, but I can edit that one.
to get
Good.
advanced, that's when you jump over to the node view, which is where we are right now, which is...
I can even turn on
So,
the donut.
space color, right? So we could
There we go.
put anything in here. You could put an image texture in. You could do everything. The one that we're looking for is a node. By the way, I'm hitting Shift A, and the node under input that I'm looking for is called object info. So I'm going to drag this in, and we've got a number of values here. So the way nodes work.
Okay, so I do a Shift A, input, object info. Okay, and then we put it here.
Is essentially, if I take like one of these, for example, and I was to put this over here, it would, depending on what this node here actually does, it would take that value. It's like, yeah, it's like mathematics. It's like taking this value or programming, referencing this value in another place. If I was to take the random value and I was to put that into the base color, you can see that this happens. All the colors, all the sprinkles are now black and white and various shades in between it. So this object info node, this random output of that is basically every time the object is repeated or duplicated or referenced, it's giving it a random value between 0 and 1, right? Anywhere along there. It could be like one of them is like 0.325, 0.693, whatever. And depending on where it is along there, it's by default, it's giving it a white value, or sorry, a black value and then white value. And it's just basically, yeah, it's like a gradient between them. So each of these are matching that. And that's well and good if you want sprinkles that look like somebody's dead relative's ashes sprinkled on the top. But what we want is something a little more lively.
Jesus.
What we can do between here, so where it takes the random value and it's 0 to 1, is we can put in Shift A, converter, color ramp. So if we can drop in this color ramp here and put this in here, nothing will have changed at the moment. But what this is doing is it's taking the 0 to 1 and it's now transforming that across this gradient. And this gradient here can be whatever color, whatever look.
Color ramp.
So if I make this black value and I change this to be orange, you can see that we have this. So as you can guess, the next step is like, how do you want your sprinkles to look, and then how do you want to set this up? So in my case, I'm going to go with a sort of a pastel theme.
Oh, it just goes into factor. Okay.
Color scheme, and I'm going to go with like 5 different sprinkle color sets. So let's go like a blue color like this, and then I'm going to go a purple color, and then I'm going to go a hot pink color. And by the way, this is all referencing like stuff that I found on.
I mean, I should probably do that. Like, if I wanted to do something different, like, what's a good donut sprinkle? Yeah, see, that's more like it. Maybe we should do this one. This one's got sprinkles in the icing. Oh, it's soap. Weird. Look at those sprinkles. Man, getting hungry. Yeah, see, I don't want to do pastel. That's just too fancy. Like, that sort of thing. Then again, maybe we'll try that. Anyway, carry on.
The World Wide Web. I've got a Pinterest board actually. I'll put the link in the description. But I found like some like donut sprinkle looks that I like, and I decided to copy kind of like the color scheme. But anyway, it's basically what I'm doing now. So let's add another one. I'm gonna make this one yellow, and then the last one is gonna be white. Okay, great. So look at that. We now have.
Alright, let's add some colors to this. How do we set the color? Okay, click on that. So let's see. It's very odd that it uses this kind of color when, like, I feel like the inputs should be slightly different, like the input range, for like whatever the filmic thing is, the color space. I feel like it should be different. Anyway, well, let's see. We want red sprinkles, that's for sure. And whoops. All right, don't hit delete. Remove that one. That one goes there. Add one. This one can be red. I definitely want orange. There's no question about that. The example that I have has orange sprinkles. I'm going to change this to constant, just preemptively. We're going to add another one. You, my friend, are going to be yellow. It's going to do like the standard rainbow colors. For some reason that looks slightly green. There we go. Okay. Yellow. I'm going to add another one. You, my friend, are going to be red, yellow, green. So I want like a darker green, like foresty green. How would I do that? Full saturation, but darker. Yeah, I'm not completely convinced about this color control. And then we'll have blue for sure. And we'll have one more. We'll have purple. And this looks a lot like this example here. I think they've got white as well. So they've got pink, not purple. They do have white. So I add purple, and I'm going to add white as well. Could add brown for like chocolate sprinkles. That'll do. Very pure colors, but that's fine. You know what? I think that'll do for at least our purposes for now. And maybe I want to scale the sprinkles up a bit. I think I scaled them down and up and down and up a bit earlier, but we'll keep going with that. Render as that, big sprinkles. All right, we'll keep going.
Hopefully, I don't know. We have those sprinkles. Oops, oh gosh, what have I done? We have those sprinkles, and they all have those colors. Now, one problem, and that is that it hasn't just assigned it these colors, it's also assigned it every value in between it. So it's also giving us a value like somewhere between pink and yellow. Like some of these sprinkles are going to be that color.
Okay, so I've already done this part.
And there's values in between it. So what we want to do is we want to change the gradient type. So instead of being linear, we want it to be constant interpolation. So if I set that, now you can see there's only, it's basically now binary, right? It's either on or off. It's not a value in between it, and that's perfect. That is exactly what we want. So you can see that it's the way it works is it's like the distance after the marker in between that and the next mark is that color. So this white value currently has no contribution, so it's going to move these along a little bit, like so. Like that. And you can also see very quickly, like, you can change the color scheme of your sprinkles. You want more yellow ones or more hot pink ones or whatever. It's just it's an easy way to actually change the color scheme of the sprinkles. It's kind of cool once you set this up. Like, I didn't want to do this like my tutorial 3 years ago. So I was like, I don't know, like nodes and random settings and color too advanced. But then the feedback I got from that tutorial when I did a survey was like, why didn't you use the random set with color? I'm like, how do you know that was a thing? I thought that was too advanced. But anyways, so there you go. We have different colors. Yay, across the whole thing. You know, we only put this in the base color because everything else, like the roughness and all that kind of thing, that's going to be the same. Like those values across sprinkles are not going to change. It's really just the colors of the sprinkles. Speaking of which, by the way, we should probably increase the roughness of the sprinkles so they're a little bit more like chalk looking, because that's kind of what a lot of sprinkles like. Those are some of the shiny, so it's really up to you if you want to go for a shiny sprinkle or a chalkish looking sprinkle. But that's going to do it for that. All right, now let's just jump into the next part.
Shouldn't have closed my references.
Right, and sprinkles, no two sprinkles are the same, right? It's they're all unique little special snowflakes. Some of them are a little bit bendy, some of them are like short and fat, and some of them are like almost nothing. So that's what we want to create. Now, as I mentioned, there is, we can't use that scale randomness value. Crap, I just lost it.
Okay. Oh, that's the icing. I can make it glisten a bit more. I think I had it too rough before. All right, let's grab Mr. Sprinkle. And they'd be rough, but not as rough as the icing. That looks better. I should have come into this mode before for the setting up my icing texture. That looks much nicer. I can even adjust this one. Like, I feel like this should be rougher. And I can fiddle with the subsurface. I wish I knew what the subsurface radius would do. Oh, the blurriness is like an interference from the way it's being rendered, I suspect. Because you can see there's a discontinuity there when I turn that on and off. Yeah, I'll add a little bit of subsurface there, and I'll just adjust the subsurface on this one. Yeah, it's a side effect of how it's getting rendered by Eevee. I suspect that cycles won't be that bad. I mean, at this point I could hit F12. Do I need to set it? I think I need to set it to cycles to do this, and then it's not going to change the cycles there, but when I do this, it'll use cycles. Oh, and we've got a lighting problem, so how do I cancel the render? I think I just close it. Yeah, good. Okay, we'll keep going.
That's what happens when you use a version of Blender which is experimental. It crashed on me, so that was fun. So let me pause the recording while I redo all that. Yay! Okay, so as I was saying, now that I've caught up and redone everything.
Good reminder to save.
I'm really playing with fire. I'm doing the exact same thing that made it crash. Because it changes the thickness of the sprinkles, and that's not good. So really what we want is we have these sprinkles. They just have like different heights to them, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sprinkle here, and I'm in layouts, edit, object mode, whatever, I'm going to duplicate it, and this is going to be another sprinkle.
I'm going to disagree with him slightly here and be like, well, they don't vary in size much. Whoops. Set that back to Eevee. They don't vary in size much, but surely they vary in size a little bit. So let's go look at my particles and scale renders just a tiny bit. It's very subtle, but I think it's probably worth doing. Cool. I just want to.
And I'm going to go into
probably not worth doing.
And really. One. Twice as long. Like so. Okay. Now do this. Come back to your. Yeah, nothing changed. And the reason
change versus work.
It's still referencing the original object. It's still referencing this single object here.
You can see he's got the same subsurface thing there. So maybe he's gone ahead and put the subsurface value higher than I did. Like he's been a bit more like. He's been a bit more generous with the subsurface rendering. What are we doing?
But you can choose to, instead of rendering just a single object,
okay, we're rendering a collection.
And that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to select my, first of all, let's keep this name, so I'm going to F2, and we'll call this sprinkle short, and I'll call this sprinkle long, okay, and I'm selecting both of them, I'm going to do a branding collection. We'll call it, what are we going to call it? We're going to call it sprinkles. Woo, really hard to know what's going to happen next. So, down here, collections, instance collections, sprinkles, and there we go. So now it's randomly basically pulling from one of those two things. And the cool thing is that now we have as many different types of sprinkles as we want, because it's not just showing the long ones.
Okay, so let's start doing this.
We've got a medium one, we also got some bendy ones. So let's...
what is duplicate? Duplicate, and then I want to go on the x-axis, and then we want to edit this one and make it, grab it, and nope. We want X-ray. What is X-ray? I can't remember. It's like Alt-X. I don't want to hit random keys. I need the. So this is on the Z-axis going up. I've got long ones. Okay.
Oh, it's crash. It's crash. It's crashed. Let's do that again. All right, we're back. Yeah, something we just removed that from this tutorial. The crash. I think it's a valuable lesson. Always save. Also, I will say that I'm using an experiment. It's very rare for Blender to crash this often. Anyways, as I was saying, there are some bendy ones. So I'm going to duplicate this guy.
I love that this often.
So I'm just like, oh, actually, don't explain why I did that, right? So Control R is going to allow us to create a loop cut. Right, Control R, and when you click, so first of all you get that like outline. That outline shows you where the loop is going to go. It's basically adding detail. That's where the best form for loop is. And if I scroll wheel, I can increase the number of loops. Right, so this is like some very basic modeling here. So I just scroll it up to give me like 2 loops.
Okay, let's start with this. Control R. Okay. Well, exit out of that mode, and what is it? Shift D to duplicate. We want the x-axis there. Whoops, no, we want to just shift on over here. Just going to grab all of these and grab them on the x-axis and just move them out of the way a bit. Okay, him, we're going to edit mode, and we're going to, what is it, Shift R to make a, no.
and then it'll ask you where you want to place. Outline will show you where the loop is
Control
going to go.
R.
Basically adding detail. That's Control R. And then when you click, sorry, first of all you get that like outline, then outline will show you where the loop is going to go. That's basically adding detail. Essentially, that's where the best form of loop is. And if I scroll wheel, I can increase the number of loops. Right, so this is like some very basic modeling here. So I just scroll it up to give me like 2 loops, and I just click, and then it'll ask you where you want to place them. And if you just right click, it'll just place them right in the default middle area. And then I've got, you know, a bendy sprinkle looking thing, right? And then I'll do the same thing.
So let's whoops, try that. So X-ray on again. I can scroll that across to. Oh, I am in X-ray mode. That's better. Rotate that one there. And how do you do that?
Detail, that's what the best form of loop is. And then if I scroll wheel, I can increase the number of loops. Right, so this is just like some very basic modeling here. So I just scrolled it up to give me like 2 loops, and then I just click, and then it'll ask you where you want to place them. And if you just right click, it'll just place them right in the default middle area. And then I've got, you know, a bendy sprinkle thing.
So just move the center and rotate it. So I'm just doing the opposite. So I'm just going to grab that and go that way. Grab that and go that way. Rotate it a bit. I mean, it would have been just as easy to grab that. I'll make it a little bit, you know, non-uniform. It's got a long one, we've got a short one. Let's have a medium one. I want that mode. Maybe get out of there. Shift D to duplicate, and let's put it on the x-axis here. Okay, and make it smaller. I'm getting the hang of this. Here we go. All right, we've got a medium one. Let's also do a medium one with less bend in it, perhaps just a little bend. Just because I want to. Control. Well, that was save. I want to duplicate. Golly, the shortcuts in this are difficult. So basically practicing what he's doing before. You can see how you get fast at this with practice. I'll have that there. We'll rotate that one and we'll grab that one. Okay, that's pretty good. And we'll get out of that mode. Oh, I don't like that because this is now not really straight. That's better. Okay. I feel like you could rotate that. Yeah, that's going to be nicer. Cool. All right, I'll keep going.
Right, and then I'll do the same thing. I'll duplicate my medium one here as well. I'm going to save as I go. Very important.
He's doing the same thing.
Just like extrude up, and every time you extrude it, it's going to create one of those loop cuts. It's the exact same way of doing it. Exact same thing. It's just different ways of doing it, essentially. That's actually kind of like a little bit too wormy looking, right? Yeah, it's kind of cool. And my apologies, but this add-on and all the crashes and everything, but sometimes I'm showing you what I'm pushing and other times I'm not, and my apologies, but that's, yeah, we got to fix that add-on. It's really bugging me, actually. It just turns itself off randomly. Anyways, look at this. We got all these little squiggly worms and stuff all over it. One thing to note as well is like some of them are like really sticking out there. And part of the reason for this is that, I haven't even got it turned on, but my origin points will actually show you here. The origin point, that little dot.
I want to make this one bigger. So let's do that. Grab it. We're going to move it over a bit, and we're going to edit it. We're going to grab that. What was I doing? I was making it longer. Let's extrude that. How do I extrude? Is it Shift E? Oh, it's just E. Yeah, because looking at my reference, it's like they are the like ones that are really bendy are also really quite long. So let's try making it like that. Okay, let's do that. Okay.
Dot there is the point at which it is attaching itself to the top of the icing there. So that being where it is.
Okay, now let's make this into a collection. So I think it's M, new collection, yeah. Sprinkles, okay. One, I do wish Shift and Control Select are the same as Explorer, that'd be nice. interestingly underscores them. Like, I wonder if there's a problem with leaving spaces in the name. Sprinkled long, you can be sprinkled medium bend, you can be sprinkled medium, and you can be sprinkled long bend. Okay.
This is probably not in the best place. It should probably be in the middle of it. And you can see that all of them have problems with that. So if I right-click after selecting all of them and I select Set Origin to Geometry, it's going to basically place it in the center of all
Set
those
origin
objects. And now we go back to see it a little bit more.
Sounds good. Okay, well, before we go too much further, I feel like this one's going to be a bit of an issue, but okay, now we'll select the icing, turn off X-ray. Now, I think, did he do it already? He's done it already. So now I need to find the particle system, and the render as object becomes render as collection, and we use the sprinkles collection. Okay, and then let's switch over to the thing that gives us some color. That's not looking too bad, but now I can just tweak it a bit. So I've got a little scale render. I might. No, I like them fairly large. The downside to them being fairly large is that's weird.
The problem a lot of people had with the previous tutorial was that you've got intersection, right? Particles that are intersecting other particles. And unfortunately, there is just no good way to fix that. The particle system in Blender it's a little old, and it just doesn't have this ability yet. You really want to be able to like read the shape of a mesh and then detect when meshes are intersecting. It should be able to do that, but the current version doesn't do it. I think the plan is for 2.83 or 2.84, something like that. They're going to roll in particle nodes, which should hopefully have this feature, and a lot more other things. But for now, really my best advice is if you see things that are intersecting and you're not happy with how it looks, you can change the seed here. The seed is just like a random value. Like every new seed will be a different mix, a different version of it. So I find just find a seed that looks the best, and this will kind of like, doing it now is kind of a little bit preemptive because when it comes to rendering, that's really when you want to check like the intersection of things and choose your seed value. But just want to give that a heads up because I know a lot of people have that question of like, how do I fix it? It looks terrible. So anyway. Now, the other thing I want to do is I want to add just a few spheres to it because whilst looking at all the different sprinkles there, I noticed that it's quite a common trend to have these little balls, like almost like marbles. Like it just looks marbles. Sometimes they're like star-shaped, love heart-shaped, just kind of like that. I don't know what you call it, like that, like old pastel, like old-fashioned candy that's just like all like crushed up kind of thing. Like you can do a lot of really cool stuff with sprinkles. But anyways, I just want to add some balls. So, funny balls. I am going to right here inside my sprinkles collection, I'm going to add a new UV sphere. And
the sense of humor is
way too big and way too high res. So I want it to be higher res probably than the sprinkles because it's going to be a little bit bigger, but not too high res. So something like that. And then I'll turn down the size to be, say, 5 millimeters. No, too big. Let's go 3. Something like that. That's actually no, maybe 4. Okay, and I'm going to right click that and shade smooth so that it is smooth. And it's not using the current material over here, which is good because I actually just want to make it one single color. So very simple, new material, and the color is just going to be like a blue, like a saturated, a little bit more saturated aqua color, and it's actually quite shiny. Like the roughness would be quite low on this.
Okay, so he's adding some sprinkles, some round sprinkles. Okay. So I've let him get a bit ahead. So let's try and catch up with what we've learned here. So UV sphere. This is another small one, so I assume that he... Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit bigger, but not too high res. So something like that.
Okay, so increase this slightly. So, you know, good call. Fair enough. I thought he did that. I can always scale it or move it. We'll move it into the sprinkles collection. Now I want to select it, and then I want to grab it, and then I want to move it on the x-axis there. Keep it there. Okay, and then he wants material. So yeah, he's making like those, I think, yeah, because I've watched this before and I think he looks for the word and it's like a casserole or something.
And then I'll turn down the size to be...
Edible ball bearings.
No, too big. Let's go 3. Something like that. That's actually not maybe 4. Okay, and then I'm going to right-click that and shade smooth so that it is smooth. And it's not using the current material over here, which is good because I actually just want to make it one single color. So very simple, new material, and the color is just going to be like a blue, like a saturated, a little bit more saturated aqua color, and it's actually quite shiny. Like the roughness would be quite low on this. So, and I think the reason that this has become popular in decorating and everything is the same reason that we'll get to this. It's the same reason that like it's actually art aesthetic. It's like there's a technique which I'm still trying to learn myself, but it's like you don't want to have just like repetitive uniform detail everywhere because it just looks predictable and it just looks flat and boring and dull. If you can have like big elements, medium-sized elements, and small elements that are placed in like kind of chaotic areas, it can look more interesting. So I believe that's the purpose of having this on cakes, and it works. But not right now. It looks like it's been invaded by some, I don't know, nanoparticles or something. So the problem is that it's picking from our sprinkles collection here. It's picking them evenly, right? It's just plucking them.
So I need to scale it
all
up.
have the same kind of.
Quite large, probably, like that. All right, you know, like that's one way to do the sprinkling. Maybe if I do this again, I'll make like a little star shape or something, which I think would be nicer.
Relative important or priority. But there's a setting here called use count. And if you enable this in the drop down, you'll see that you get a count value next to each of your sprinkle names. Now there's no way to say like reduce the importance of this, but you can increase the importance of everything else. So essentially for everything other than the sphere, I want to increase the amounts of them. So for the, let's say like medium sprinkles, I'll go to 60, 60.
I can never remember where any of these things are. Is it? Use count. Here we go. All right. Okay, down here. Like they've made a lot of improvements to the UI, but still. So we're gonna have stick with our sort of base 60 situation. Long bend 60, but I want more mediums. So like 240, 60 of these. Where's my small ones? I want a lot of these here as well. No, probably not. Okay, that'll do. As many, and then I need some more of these, so like 30. Oh, that's better. So, okay, so that's what pick random does. That's interesting. That's very interesting. So a lot fewer than 30, maybe 10. Now, one interesting thing is that they're all deeply embedded. I want to actually see. Okay, so there's something he hasn't taught us, and that is set origin to 3D cursor. So I need to move the 3D cursor if I want to stick them in. Actually, I won't do that now. I know he says how to move the 3D cursor. At some point, I assume it's this. I mean, I could do it the other way actually, which is just grab all the vertices with X-ray mode on. Is that really moving? They're not moving up, which I suppose. So. Oh no, they are moving up. They're just a bit weird. Okay. Does that improve matters? I think that does. Right, and we've got a few of them. Maybe we want just slightly fewer. So, 4 seems good. I'm just going to scale all these down just slightly. So I can scale him up. a bit and then scale the whole collection down. Because yeah, they're just slightly big. So yeah, that's looking better. I want to scale him down again. That's a bit too big. I love that it's like, you know, like I can live edit the shape and then I can get a good look at what it looks like on the thing. So I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good donut. So, and then I can hide the sprinkles collection.
The long ones.
He's probably going to do this.
Now, like, there's probably like longer sprinkles are probably less common than the medium ones. Same with the short ones. Like they'll be less common than the medium ones as well. Most of them would be medium, and some of these long ones as well. And then finally, just the sphere. You can see that we've now got like just 3 spheres left because of the importance of them being so small. And that's
I like 28.
Let's just cycle through this a little bit. What other segments? So
28.
every time you do a new seed, like you might get like 3 or 4 or something like that appear on it. In fact, I might actually just increase these. I think the spheres are just a little bit too underplayed right now. Go 2 spheres. No, I've gone too much. I don't know. You can play with this yourself, and just as I said, you know, make the sprinkles that you want to see. Be the sprinkles that you want to see in the world. All right, let's bring back the environment. Let's just see how that looks. There you go, guys. That's the sprinkles. The amount of sprinkles. That's probably the other really big one. Is the number on top there. And there's no right and wrong answer. It's really like some donuts have like a few sprinkles and they're like really big and like chunky. Right? Well, not that chunky, but like slugs. But that's one aesthetic. Or you can go like the other direction and go like loads of sprinkles and then maybe make them a little bit smaller or something like that. Not that small. you gotta find the right value. But play with it and just, you know, this is where you can get to be creative and artistic and find a look that you like and choose the colors you like and all that kind of thing. It's a lot of fun. So go ahead and join me in the next video because we have finished the sprinkles. So join me there.
All right, I'll just pause him. Oh, he's paused himself. Very good. And let's try and do a bit of this action. Let's. How do we want our scene to play out? Okay, are we in cycles or Eevee? We're in Eevee. Good. And I want to do what he did last tutorial, and that is I want to grab that fellow, switch this out of camera view. Where's my light? Grab my light and just move the light around. I mean, that's interesting. Like, that's like his. Maybe I want it coming from this side though. Yeah. Okay, and I want it a bit bigger. How do I do that? Light. Radius. Okay. All right, and then we'll switch this over. If I switch this to cycles, is that it is too. Right, let's switch it back to Eevee before everything gets very sad. But then, okay, that's good. And then we'll switch this over to cycles. Now we're not using it, and then we can render. All right, I'll just wait while my CPU chokes, because obviously now it's got a lot more to render. But I mean, that's looking pretty good. Oh, so cranking out the subsurface on the donut seems to have pulled a lot of that green reflection off the thing, and now my donut looks green. I mean, we'll find out how it looks, but maybe that's not so great. With that, what do they call it? Is it radiance? I can't remember. Yeah, it's got a big green reflective plane with a big fat light source, and it's all just bouncing green light up into my donut, which is, you know, not very nice. And I mean, I wonder if it's a subsurface scattering or what. That lighting angle is a lot better though. And the sprinkles do give you a bit of a sense of scale. So, I mean, that's okay. Let's, I want to save that. I think it's Alt-S to save. save that. But I'm gonna try and improve it somewhat. Okay, so whoops, we got follow camera on. I forget how to turn that on and off. I'm gonna have it a bit bigger on the scene. And change this material a bit. Subsurface scattering is just too much, I think. And this plane is bouncing too much light out. It's a bit darker. I mean, I like the mint green, but it's just a lot of reflected light. And maybe if I move this away. Okay, now what do we want? We wanted to look at the renderer, and color management, we wanted to use false color. Yeah, here we go. Now we want it to be largely gray, because obviously that's too much. And I think I need to do that with a combination of moving it and I feel like, and the power level, because that seems too dim. Yeah, and there we got an RGB render, which is interesting. I mean, I should just eyeball it in this mode. I mean, I feel like I had something good before. I mean, that seems okay. Let's hit F12 again and see what that seems to have more contrast. So let's turn that off. Use cycles and render it. Already I think this is looking better, but we'll see when it tries to do the donut itself, whether it's got too much subsurface scattering, and it's just picking up too much of that green from the floor. I like this bit, you know, you got a nice little dribble in the middle. These are probably a bit too high up. We might change that. And bring them a bit closer to center. Oh, so much green coming up. I might leave it as is for now. I think maybe that will go away with a bit of a bit more lighting work, so maybe we won't worry about it too much. But you know, it's looking like a fine donut while that renders. Hopefully this is not killing the stream. Poor network connection detected. Yeah, so we're losing frames, but that's fine. Okay, here's the next part. So that was random materials. Now we're going to do texture painting. Sweet.
This tutorial series is brought to you by Polygon. Make better renders faster. Welcome back to the Donut Project.
All right, come on. That's ridiculous. We're nearly done. You just got to render some floor. You know, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. Let's save that as donut 2B, just so I can compare them. I can even have a look. I'll switch this back to Eevee in case we do something silly. So this is what we had when we started. So yeah, having this area in shadow is just picking up all of that reflected green light. It's actually not too bad. That, yeah, zooming it in, yeah, nice fat donut there. This sprinkle here is not great. It's not too bad. Yeah, I mean, it looks clearly computer generated, so. What did I want to do? I wanted to adjust the sprinklage. The Peter sprinklage. Okay, we'll change the seed. Let's see if we can get rid of that one that's right out front. That's not too bad. Alright, we'll leave that as a seed for now. We don't need to worry too much. I don't know, I liked the other one. That'll do. Oh no, I really liked 28. It's just had that one sprinkle in a weird place. And this is a good, you know, the fact that the sprinkle generator, the particle system doesn't have a good way of doing. I'm just going to do 28 because I liked it. That's good, and I'm just going to go in and adjust the sprinkles. We can always, you know, well, we can always, he says. I think you might be able to go in. It would be crazy if you couldn't. And go in and render those particles out to objects or something to that effect. All right, so this one I just want to, oops, I want to move all the vertices back closer to the origin so they're embedded a little more in the actual donut. Yeah, it'll do for now. Okay, so let's carry on.
Keeps on giving. Our sprinkles are done, and now we're going to do some texture painting on our donuts, because if we were to hide our icing here, and we just have a look at our donut in render view mode, we can see that, yeah, it looks like a donut. It definitely, our brain recognizes it as such, but it looks a little bit fake, a little bit cartoonish, and that is because if you look at real reference photos of donuts, you'll see that they're not one solid color, right? They are, you know, a darkish brown color, but as we mentioned when we talk about sculpting, when it sits in the fat and it's like in the deep fryer and it's floating, the part that is level is getting cooked less, so that part is always a little bit whiter, so it always has this like white ring around the donut. So as always in Blender, there's 100 ways you could do something. I know I've been reading the comments, people say like, oh, why didn't you do it this way? Why didn't you do it this way? Well, yeah, you can do things any number of ways, and we could do like a gradient effect right now, and that would be short and sweet. In fact, that's how I made my original image. I did that with like a simple gradient. But this is an opportunity to learn a valuable part of Blender, which you'll probably want to use in the future for a project, and that is texture painting. So we want to actually paint on our mesh here. So there is a texture paint feature in Blender. So up here, the top, texture paint. Right. Now.
Okay. So before we get into this, I think, whoops. That is interesting. Like, there's a really valid point that clipping distances probably should be copied, and maybe even, you know, if you don't set it, just auto set to the scale of the thing you're doing. I think before we get into this, I might go and grab myself another drink, and then we will carry on. So I'll just bring up the donuts I've done so far, just to give you an idea of where we're at. Just so I'm leaving something on screen while I just wander out of the room real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, unmute the microphone. Very, very important. Professional streamers here. So there's donut so far, and we're about to do some texture painting. I've got some more to drink. Soon I'll have to take a break and grab something to eat. But yeah, let's keep going. We'll be going for about an hour and 15 minutes. Let's keep texture painting. So.
To talk about texture painting, you also have to talk about a separate step, which we actually don't need for our donut in this case, and that is UV unwrapping. If you go to the UV editor up here, this will show you, for your mesh, if you select all your vertices of your mesh, it will show you...
Okay, so what are we doing? UV editing. Which we don't need to do because, you know, Taurus got UVs when we started. Gotcha.
Your UVs. Now UVs are, the best way to understand UVs are with this image here of this chocolate. It's like if you have a 3D mesh, in order for paint to be applied to it, you're actually painting onto a 2D image. So the software has to know how is that 2D image going to wrap around a 3D mesh. And that is what UV unwrapping is. Now the reason I say we don't need to know it for this step is that our mesh is actually already UV unwrapped. Because when we added in, we went mesh and we added in Taurus in part 1, Blender already UV unwrapped. So it's already pretty well good to go. Now when we do our coffee cup in the next level, when we model our own coffee cup, we're actually going to UV unwrap it ourselves then. But for now, it's already UV unwrapped. The reason I do mention this though is that looking at the squares of our donut here, like if we, this thing drives me out the wall, the clipping is always way too low. The squares on our donut are obviously like square shapes, whereas over here they are rectangular, which would mean if we were to paint over here, essentially we would get like a stretched image look over there if we were to paint on a square image. However, if we were to start with an image which was rectangular, like stretched like that way, so it was like that, for example, then, and don't do this, I'm just to demonstrate, then it would appear right. Okay, so anyways, all this is like a prerequisite to say now we go to texture paint mode. The first thing we need to do is define the size of our image here, and this is where we're going to click new at the top, new image, and this is where we're going to set it up to be a rectangular image. So for the width.
Okay, so I mean, he's about to set it up for a like a reasonable rectangle, but you can see here it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, sorry, it's yeah, 2 by 5. So I bet he's going to choose not quite the right scaling factor here.
I want it to be twice as
I mean,
long
his
as
might
the
be
height.
different. Yeah, see,
So,
he's like twice.
Type it in. However, there's a little feature in Blender, and that's a math
times.
inside any text box. So if I hit *2, that's going to multiply that value by 2.
I wonder if there's a good reason for that. Like, no one needs power of 2 textures anymore these days, surely. Anyway, let's try it. New. Let's go with that. 2560.
If I hit enter, it's now done the math for us. Okay, and then I just need to give this image a name, so I'll call it.
He's giving it an alpha channel. Is that a
okay.
wise plan?
And now it has created a rectangular image. Okay, now you can see that.
Donut, what do you call it? I don't know. Skin. Donut skin. Sweet. All right.
Our donut here is purple and our texture is black. And that's because they're not synced. If it was synced properly, the donut would be black. In fact, anytime you see purple or pink color in Blender, like usually that means, unless you've set it up yourself, but usually that means that it's missing a texture. So purple or pink, think of that as like a warning sign that Blender is looking for something that it can't find. So this is not good. Now the reason it's doing that is because it doesn't have any image that we're painting onto in our material over here. So you'll remember that we set up the base color for our donut right here to just be one single solid color. So what we want to do is we want to swap that out to be an image. So if we went to our shading tab, which you remember we went to when we were doing the sprinkles, right here, we want to replace this with an image. So I'm going to add an image node. So go Shift A, and then I'm going to go Input, nope, I'm going to go Texture, Image, Texture. Okay, so I add this in, and then what I want to do is take the yellow. This is like a short little tip whenever you're working with nodes. Generally speaking, one color only goes into another color. So this color is obviously going to go into our base color. Then the image texture, we're going to select the texture that we just created. Donut texture tutorial should be in the drop down. And there we go. Now if we go back to our texture paint tab, you should see that they would be linked. And if I was to paint over here, just do a quick little across it, you will see that we're now painting on our.
Okay, so if I go to texture paint and do that, my computer's going to have a picture fit because too much data for its poor little brain.
Map over here, and likewise we can actually paint over on this side as well, and it will paint onto our mesh. And there we go. That's good. Awesome. Now, before we go another step, before we start painting, it's a good idea to actually save our image, because if we were to save our blend file, which by the way, good idea to do that. We get into the habit of doing that. The image actually isn't saved. This image right now is stored in kind of like a temporary space. And if you were to quit Blender, you would lose any painting that you've done. So you need to save your image separately to your blend file. So I'm going to go Image, Save As. And I will just call this, PNG, whatever, save it, and there we go. So whenever you see a star next to the image, it means, like if I was to be painting here, it means that you haven't saved the image yet. So if you were to quit Blender, you're going to lose any changes you've done. So a quick shortcut is just Shift S whilst your cursor, of course it doesn't work. Oh, maybe it's Alt S, that's it, Alt S. There you go. That's the hotkey for saving the image over here, so you can like quickly do that. Anyways, all right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to give just the base color of my donut. So if I hit the N key, let me turn on.
I'm going to slow him down, and I'm going to follow along mostly. I wish I could rearrange this. Can I do it this way? Like, I used to know how to do this in the other Blender. It's like, there's this thing. No. Get rid of that. Join upwards. So I want the donut up here. So what's this? This is a 3D viewport of the donut. Good, 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 good. And now I can just join. I can't join. I can't get rid of that. Good work, guys. Good program. Well done. All right, we've got two views of the donut. One's there, one's there. We can make that a bit smaller too. Still drawing on it. I'll zoom in. Can we get rid of that grid? Like, that grid seems completely unnecessary. No, N. He said N. So that brings up the draw tool. Okay. View. I don't know. I don't know if it's even possible to get rid of the grid. Does he do it? At some point here? Yeah, he's got no grid. Why does he have no grid? I want no grid.
Next to the image, it means, like if I was to do painting here, it means that you haven't to our mesh. Okay, so I add this in, do a quick little across it. You will see that we're now painting on our map over here, and likewise we can actually paint over on this side as well.
Okay. All right, so that's just meaningless. Okay.
Well, and it will paint it. Right. And there we go. That's good. Awesome. Now, before we go another step, before we start painting, it's a good idea to actually save our image. Because if we were to save our blend file,
all right, we've done this part.
The first thing I want to do is I want to give just the base color of my donut. So if I hit the N key,
okay.
Let me turn on, make sure that that's turned on so you can see what I'm pressing. N will bring up the panel here, and I'm just going to set a donut color like this. Now there's a fill tool, but it's going to collide with the white stuff I've already done here, and I don't know how to turn off the continuous thing. Anyways, I'm just going to paint over the top of it. So let's go strength of 1, and hey, why have I got some sort of lazy mouse thing turned on? Okay, I've got smooth stroke turned on. I guess that was maybe a hotkey that I pushed while I was trying to figure out how to save. I guess that was smooth stroke. I'd never seen that before. Anyways, okay, solid paint over it. Okay, now we want to do that little white ring around
the mouse. So
every area of Blender needs to change the clipping. It's so annoying. Anyways,
so that I get 100%
I'm going to set the color white. Now, actually, I want to keep my color, my donut color there. If I hit X, which is the same hotkey as in Photoshop, it'll flip between the two colors in your palette. So that's just handy. So I'm going to set this one to white, and I want to use a low strength of like 0.3, 0.2, something like that, because we don't want this white to be like blinding. Otherwise, it'll look like it's kind of like, you know, just like painted on there really deliberately. So something subtle. And you'll notice we can paint both in the 2D mode, and you can paint also on the 3D model. So it'll update both of them interactively. It'll like sync them together. Now, one thing to note is that if we continue this around here, because we are drawing with a mouse, especially, it's going to be really, really obvious that it's been painted, right? Because it's a continuous stroke. If you've got a stylus, you can use pen pressure, and it's like a little bit better. But even regardless of that, it helps to use a texture to throw some extra detail in there.
Oh, yes, please. Tell me about this before we
So you can use a texture mask. You would think you would use texture, by the way, but texture will actually use the color of a texture that you put in there, which isn't what we want. We want to use our original colors here, but we want to add like a stencil effect to it, and that's what Texture Mask does. I only just learned this myself. So anyway, we're clicking on New Texture, and then down here, at the very bottom, there's a little texture panel. And then at the top, we want to select from Brush, Mask, Texture, and
Brush. Okay, so I'm making the texture here. Or something. Texture mask, new. Okay, so he's done that. Can I, forget, there's two blank textures in my document. That's fine.
And then from the type, because the default is set to image, you can put any image in there, but we're going to use clouds. So this is a procedurally generated texture that comes with Blender. It's probably the most common type of procedural texture you use a lot, basically.
Where did you do
so
that?
if we paint now, you'll see that we get a very faint, I'll just turn this up just so we can see it, generate. And then from the very bottom, there's a little texture panel. And then at the top, we want to select from brush, mask, texture. And then from the type, because the default is set to image, you can put any image in there, but we're going to use clouds. So this is a procedurally generated texture that comes with Blender. It's probably the most common type.
Oh, okay. So I've just made a whole lot of completely unnecessary textures. Type, clouds.
Of procedural texture you use a lot, basically. So if we paint now, you'll see that we get a very faint, I just turn this up just so you can see it.
Good.
You can see we get a texture painted over it now. And you'll note that actually the more you paint, it sort of covers it up, but it still kind of keeps the same like tile to it. So actually what I like to do is change the mapping to random. And then like every time you press it, it'll be like a new kind of rotation of that brush, and it'll look a little bit, I don't know, it's just more appropriate for what I want it for. All right, let's turn down the strength again, and let's just do some painting. Also, we can change the size of the brush as well, sorry, the size of the cloud, so that it's a little bit more, it's a little more varied.
All right, let's try and do that painting now.
Right, now one thing to note, by the way, this is like at the seam of the texture. So actually, if I was to paint in the 2D space over here, like if I was to paint across there like that, you can see we get a
so
seam.
I kind of have to do
and that's
it
because
here,
when you're painting in the 2D space, it won't continue a stroke over to the other side, right? It'll just paste it where you put it. But if you draw on the 3D model, then it'll continue it across that side there. So when you come to like a seam, just make sure that you are drawing on the 3D space, not the 2D space.
I want to add.
Anyway, yeah, we just continue.
I don't want to draw black. I want to draw. Why is it should be a mask, shouldn't it? Did he check random or did he choose random mask map?
Actually, the more you paint, it sort of covers it up, but it still kind of keeps the same like tile to it. So actually what I like to do is change the mapping to random. And then like every time you press it, it'll be like a new kind of...
Okay, but how, riddle me this, how is that ending up black? Mix. Has he got something different set there? He's got... Oh, you can't see it.
Rotation of that brush,
great.
And it'll look a little bit pink to add like a stencil effect to it, and that's what texture mod. I hit X, which is the Shift S, whilst your curve. So this color is a little white ring around it, and gosh, every area of Blender needs to change the clipping. It's so annoying. Proactively, it'll like sync donut color there. Anytime you see purple or pink color in of like point, but around it. This is the sort of thing that could take 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, depending on how detailed you want to go. But most of it's going to be covered up with icing. This is the kind of thing.
Huh. Okay. Why is that darkening my texture? I mean, is it not doing it on his because he's got something set up here? Oh, I swear he chooses it at some point. I've just missed that part.
Key that I pushed while I was trying. Okay, it's so my donut color there. If I hit X, which is the same hot, I want to use a low strength of like 0.3, 0.2, something like that, because we don't want this white to be like blinding. Otherwise, it'll look like it's code, and you take 0.3 on that the brush. So regardless of that, because it's a continuous stroke. If you've got a stylus, you can use pen pressure, and it's like a little bit better. But even
I don't understand why his is doing that, but I'm just going to take a punt and change this to overlay. Is it overlay that I want? More strength because I'm using a stylus here. I want you to be random. I want your size to be one. I want your size, yeah, size this up over here. Let's see if this does the trick. Yeah, here we go. All right, and let's just do it like this. Okay, I think we'll go over it once with like a big brush, and then Now let's just do it in one hit. Yeah, we'll go over it once with this size, and then we'll come back around again and just hit the middle. Alright. See, I'm hitting that a whole bunch and it's not randomizing. Why is it not randomizing? I don't know. Like, is this gonna do it? No. So something he's said there is wrong. Masking random. No tooltip to tell me what any of these things do. Good work, guys. But draw it here. Like now it's too white because I've drawn on it too much, I think. Okay. So, I mean, it's looking a bit more donutty. So, maybe what I can do once I've done this, size down and just draw in a bit chunkier in the middle. I don't know why that one's like, am I? I somehow got unlink. Yeah, somehow I am painting with the texture. Yeah, okay, so just select the wrong thing. So I don't even need, just mix should do it. Okay. It's a shame there's no way to turn this off entirely. Like, I've got a brush, but I want a different brush temporarily. And then I want to go back to that brush. But that's all right, we'll just do it this way. And then I can hit X over here. Calm this one down. Just calm it down, everyone. And then we'll come back and we'll do it all over again. Just to, we'll call that layer 1. Now we'll shrink that down, drawing in white, and we're drawing up here. Now we can do sort of the real pass. That's better. Yeah, that's much better. There we go. Got a bit of a seam here. Don't know why that's necessarily a seam, but we can. I think that's just the. I think that's just the way the model is. It's like they've gotten off by one error in their texture map. In their UV coordinates. I mean, it's looking pretty good. I'm not sad about how this is turning out. It's quite fun painting on like this. Let's go a bit bigger and lighten that up a bit. And let's try and calm that one down a bit. You know what? I think we're done. I think that deserves a cup of tea. I just got to remove the tea bag from it. And we'll carry on with the tutorial.
Even regardless of that, it helps to use a texture to throw some extra detail in there that you're going to miss with just your brush. So you can use a texture mask. You would think you would use texture, by the way, but texture will actually use the color of a texture that you put in.
Yep, we discovered that.
Let's turn down the strength again, and let's just do some painting.
Down this bit.
It is there. You might not notice it. You know what I mean? It's like when you're watching a movie, right? Nobody just continue around it. This is the sort of thing that could take 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, how detailed you want to go. But most of it's going to be covered up with icing. This is the kind of thing. It's the kind of detail that you'll notice if it's not there. But if it is there, you might not notice it. You know what I mean? It's like when you're watching a movie, right? Nobody notices the audio of a movie unless it's bad. Unless that's the only time anyone notices or talks to an audio engineer is when they've done a terrible job. It's kind of the same thing here. It's something that if it wasn't on the donut, it might look people go like, the donut looks fake, and they won't know why. But if it is there, they won't notice it, but they'll just say, looks great. So anyways, that's kind of the look we're going for. Because I've got the original donut texture as that thing, if I hit X, then it's kind of like I'm erasing the white parts, so that can be handy as well. Also, looking at our reference, why not, since we've got the brush out and everything ready, do some painting to the actual dark parts of the donut, because it's not a constant color on the donut itself either. Like, it might look that way, but the more you do art and the more you do 3D, you'll develop an eye for noticing things, and there's no constant uniform color in the real world pretty much ever.
It's very white.
Exists.
I'm not sure that's
slight variations, especially for something like this.
Really
so,
what you
yeah,
want.
I'm going to use, I'll use my white brush, I'll set this to black though, and we could paint like this, but that's just going to be dark. What I want to do though is set it to overlay, the blend type to overlay, and then what it will do is it will kind of retain the original color of the donut, but it'll just make it a little bit darker, a little bit hotter, which is kind of what I want. Now, obviously, most of this is going to be covered up with icing. So, don't go overboard spending too long detailing the...
So what's he doing? He's doing overlay mode. Yeah, now he uses the mixed thing. Overlay. And we make that black. Okay, so let's do that real quick. Add some toasty bits to our donut. Come on. Whoops, that one did not turn out well. Let's remove that stroke. Oh, whoops, oh yeah, we hit it in here a bit too much. Oh, we probably should do the inside. So, let's switch that back to mix and just feather out this edge a bit. Whoops, wrong color. Okay, so what do we want? We wanted white. So bring that up to white. We wanted to set this, we leave this on mix and we make this a bit smaller and then do the inside. Is that working? No, because we're on the wrong color. Here we go. I'll keep him playing in the background just so we
visible, but a little bit, especially near the front, near the camera. That's where my camera is at the front there. Can definitely come in handy. Oh, also we should probably do some of this around the also around the base of it as well. We're gonna do the inside of the donut, so let's just do a little bit around here. As you can tell, I'm doing this very rough, but it's yeah, it's like, why not, right? It's the sort of thing, like this is the thing you know when you do CG a lot, is like, there are things that you know could improve something, but it's too much work, right? So if I didn't have the texture paint tool already open and ready to go, I probably wouldn't bother going to the trouble of painting on the donut. But since it's here and it's already set up, we might as well add the detail because it's going to help us. Anyways, let's floppy-flop this around, and let's just do some white inside the donut here as well. This is really not going to be that visible by the camera, but little bits of it will, and just some, that kind of looks like a bagel. It actually really looks like a bagel, that's right. They are quite similar, I guess. Alright, so that is going to do it for the texture. That's probably fine as it is.
I mean, that doesn't look too bad at all.
White.
It's got a more patchy thing, whereas mine's sort of more burnt. Maybe I'll drop the size down a bit, not that much. And just do a bit of cleanup now. Just overlays what we're doing there, but we want mix for now. And just mottle this a bit. We're going to sort of test it in the area that no one's going to see because it's behind the. Behind the icing, go underneath, and so it's touching the floor, so no one will see it. But now if we hit X and we change that from mix to overlay again, I can just strength way down, size up a bit. I can just sort of give it a bit of a spruce around here. And what he says is right. It's like, this is perfectionism gone too far. Like, you don't want to spend this much time on your donut model, but by the same token, we're here. The whole point is doing a tutorial, so we may as well. Alright, and it looks better. It does look better. Some bits are a bit red or whatever, but they're going to be under some icing like so. Okay, so let's go back to layout and turn everything back on. You can look at it through the camera. Okay.
That's good. So make sure you save your image when you are finished. Image save.
Oh, yes.
Done. And go to layout mode. Let's
see, that's dangerous. Like, why would you write software that didn't save?
And let's have a look at this. Actually, turn off the icing. That's probably, yeah. There you go. You should be able to see the texture now painted onto your donut. And if you don't, make sure that your shading, inside your shading settings, you do have the correct image. Look, the same one that you painted on and you saved is going into your base color. And by the way, you probably know that, like, we put this into the base color, but now that you understand it, you could probably understand we can also paint onto the roughness input. We could just by doing a separate texture paint and putting that into the roughness. Or we could paint onto other properties of it. So this is just, base painting, but you can paint and create a really layered material. That's the kind of thing that Substance Paint is typically good at because it can do color and roughness and all those things in the same brush setting, and you can create really interesting things. But anyways, that's going to do it for our texture paint. So go ahead, click here, and in the next part, we're going to be adding displacement and procedural texture to the donut and push the realism even further. So I will see you in that video.
Okay. Oh, that's right. So this next part. So
this tutorial series is brought to you.
Previously, I watched all of Series 1 and these last 3 before I even started. But now we're on to stuff that I've seen, like I was doing the dishes and I've seen this part and I haven't even seen the final part. So we're going to be doing this blind.
Hey, and welcome to another edition of Donuts Will Haunt Your Dreams Soon because they're haunting mine. Seriously, I've been thinking about nothing else for 3 weeks other than donuts. I'm actually dreaming of donuts now. That's not a joke. Anyways, we have, in the last video, we painted our donut and it looks more donut-y, but not enough. It still looks like something you'd see out of an early Pixar movie because there's no detail to the surface of our donut. If you compare it to reference photos of donuts, you can see you got all this glistening bits that are sticking out and bumps and little crevices and...
All right, before we go too nuts, no. Okay, I want to fix this layout because this is just stuffed. No, don't split. Join. Okay. And maybe we will split one again later when we mess with the layout again. But for now, that's fine. All right, I'll keep watching his thing, and I'll turn back on that mode because that's quite nice. Sweet. All right, all lined up, ready to go.
and dark patches and all that good stuff. And that is the perfect thing, not for painting, but for procedural texturing. So with your donut selected, we're going to go into the shading mode, which is this mode right here. And by the way, just in case it's not, it should be look dev mode when you're in shading mode. And by the way, this I didn't really explain what look dev mode is, but solid view mode is the same mode that you see when you're in like mode, like this view. And then look dev mode is actually using the Eevee renderer to preview your material that you've got active with an HDR. So it's using the HDR that's available here, which is basically like a template light and reflections for it. So look dev stands for look development. So it's the perfect shader for previewing material, so that you can work fast without having to set up lights and everything. It's just like it's there and it's awesome. So when you go into shading mode, it should already be there in look dev mode, but just telling you in case it's not. Anyways, okay, so let's put that at the top there, and then here we have our node setup. Okay, so right now all we've got is just that image texture that we painted, and that's going straight into our base color there. So what we want to do is we want to add in a procedural texture. Procedural means it's by computer generated. So to do that, we're going to go Shift A, and then where it's got texture, you can see we've got a whole range of different textures here. Image texture was the one that we used before. That's obvious. And then the one we're looking for is noise texture. So we add that, and then we'll drop this guy in here. And if we want to look at what this is
slow him down a bit.
the best way textures here. Image texture was the one that we used before. That's obvious. And then the one we're looking for is noise texture. So we add that, and then we'll drop this guy in here.
Add a noise
if we want to look at what this is going to look like on our mesh, the best way to do that is to actually use an add-on that comes with Blender. So if you go to Edit, Preferences, and then underneath
before we mess with that, we'll save. Okay, Preferences.
section, search for Node Wrangler, and then just check the box next to it, and that will enable
add-ons node. Okay.
Enable it, and then once you've done that, you can Control Shift left click on that node, and it will preview it over your model. Right, let me just hide that stuff. There we go.
Okay.
And there you go. So you can see that's what the texture is doing. So that's the default like color input, but if you Control Shift click on it again, it'll view the next input down, which is the FAC or factor, and that's black and white. So what we want to do is we want to use this black and white cloud texture to drive the bumpiness of our material as well as the color and to contribute to it in that way. And it's a very common way of just adding like free detail to objects. But before we do that, one thing to note looking at the donut here with this texture, the texture is kind of stretched. Like there's more detail across this surface, but less this way. And that's just because the way that this is mapped onto it right now. It's not using UVs or anything like that. But the best way to change that is by adding in a Shift A, vector mapping. No, hang on. Texture coordinate. That's the one. Texture coordinate node. And if we just take the object output and drop that into the vector input.
Was that in inputs? Input texture coordinate. Okay. So what's he doing? That one, factor into the helpful thingy thing. Object into vector. Okay.
Input. This is now going to use the object data, which is actually most appropriate for like procedural textures. Anyways, now that I've done that, if we increase the scale of this, we should.
All right. So we increase the scale. Oh, we have to increase it quite a lot. Ooh, funky.
See pretty standard detail everywhere without there being like more or less detail in different places. So that's good. Okay, so looking at this cloudy texture here, yeah, I mean, let's just set this to, I don't know, 300. That looks fine. And let's start by making this affect the bump of our material. So to use bump mapping in Blender, there's two ways of basic.
So now that I think about it, I think I stopped watching it at this point. So this is all new from this point. That's exciting.
Contributing to bump. There's bump, which is kind of like fake bump, and then there's bump, which is real bump, and that's actually changing the shape of the actual mesh. And that's the one we want to use for this. So that's called displacements. So I'm going to take this output of this, and I am going to add in Shift A vector underneath vector displacement. So drop this in here, and then what I want to do is I want to take a vector underneath vector displacement.
Okay.
Drop this in here, and then what I want to do is I want to take the factor output of that and put that into the top of the height. And
add a vector displacement. And the factor output of that goes into the vector, I guess. Did I select the right thing?
And then I want to take that Shift A vector underneath vector displacement. So drop this in here.
Oh, who designed this? All right, so vector, there's displacement and vector displacement. You want displacement. I don't know who decided that was a smart thing, but oh well.
And then what I want to do is I want to take the factor output of that and put that into the top of the height. And then I want to take that displacement and put that into the bottom of our material output right there. Okay, now by default, it's still looking at this noise texture here, but if we Control Shift click on our just main shader, the principal shader, we should now see the effect of that on our mesh. Now, currently we can't because we're actually in look dev mode and it's kind of like not showing us the detail very well, but in rendered view mode, you can see with actual light that has like shadows and everything, you can see the effect that it's having. And again, this clipping thing, it's gonna drive me crazy. And my screen key tool is turned off. Not that it really matters for this part.
think I have fixed the clipping. That's look dev, and if we are on Eevee, we're probably quite safe to click that. We'll turn the environment back on. I mean, okay.
But anyways, okay, so that's the kind of bump that it's got over our mesh, and that looks pretty good. It's not bad, but you'll see that it's not changing the, like if you look at the edges of the object aren't changed. So when you're doing it just like this is actually the fake bump way. It would be the same as if you put it into the normal input for those who know what that is. But by default, this is what it's doing. So it's a fake bump. But if we want to make it so that it actually is displacing the shape of our mesh, we want to change right down here, underneath your settings, you want to change the displacement from bump only to displacement and bump.
Okay, so under the material for the donut, we want displacement and bump. Settings. Is it settings? Surface. Material 3. Settings. Have I got to use cycles for this? Oh, it's just gonna kill everything. Let's try again. Settings, displacement. Whoa. Displacement becomes.
Before I do that, let me just Control Shift and save, because I want to change right down here. Underneath your settings, you want to change the displacement from bump only to displacement and bump.
Okay. Under settings. Displacement and bump. Okay. God, my computer is so slow. Alright, I'd probably turn up the fan speed on it or something. This is probably melting it. So if I switch this back to Eevee, I get none of that. That's unfortunate. I don't know what to do about that. I'll turn the plane off as well. I'll make this tiny. Zoom out. This might not go completely nuts with cycles. All right.
Before I do that, let me just Control Shift and save, because
Turn the viewport samples down to.
Okay, there we go. So when you do that, what it's going to do now is it's
turn it down to 8 while I work on
displacing
it.
the donut. And hey, anybody order a porcupine? The reason is it's the scale of it. This is the height of the bump, that value there. Way too high. So we're going to set this to 0.01. And let's see how that looks. There we go. So you can see now, looking at the edge of it, at the edge of the donut, its
scale is 0.01. I'll just wait for it to catch up. Put it somewhere vaguely on screen where I can see it. That's still way too bumpy.
It's actually physically displacing. You can see that looks a lot more realistic than before. This is with bump only, and then this is with displacement and bump. Now I think scale of 0.01 is still too high. Let's go 0.02 perhaps, or 0.0.
I'm gonna have to use his values because I just don't want to re-render it.
Something like that.
0.003.
Okay. And by the way, this is using the mesh to displace it. So it will depend. The look of your displacement will depend on the number of vertices that you've got here, the amount of detail. If you don't have enough detail and you want to add more, you can just go to the modify stack and add in a new subsurf modifier like this.
Let's try that.
You would see like smoother, like less spikes. If you see like lots of spikes, it's generally a sign you've got like not enough vertices for it to play with. So you might want to add a subsurf modifier in there. But anyways,
let's do that. Let's do one of those. This thing we want. Where is it? Is it modifiers? Is the wrench? Add a subdivision surface. I mean, it makes very little difference. Yeah, you can have one.
Not bad. Now, what I actually want is for like really, really small detail. So I'm going to crank this scale up to 1,000. No, let's go 115. No, not 15,000.
I guess if he's going to do that, he's going to need
something like
bunch of
that.
these things.
Great. So this was a good little primer to show you what
value did he use on there?
But in the next video, because I want to keep these relatively short, we're going to add in another procedural text. We're going to combine it, and we're going to make it contribute to the color map as well, and then just basically finish off the donut and finish off level 2. So click here, watch the next part, and I will see you there.
All right. Hopefully, God, we've dropped so many frames. Let's see.
This tutorial series
level
is brought
3.
to you by Polygon.
Level
Make better renders.
To part 5, final part.
And welcome to the final part of level 2, where we're going to be finishing off our donut. Oh, sad little tear. We've been so many places. It's looking okay. The last part we added in some small scale detail, but now we want to add in some larger scale detail to go with our small detail, and then also make it impact the color map.
So I think if I were to start doing this in anything approaching a professional way, I would need a much better graphics card. But seeing as like the whole reason I'm doing this is to make just a handful of models, we can work in Eevee, and Eevee is good enough. That's okay for now. It looks donutty.
But first, the large scale detail.
This square pattern is a bit interesting.
Create, right? Like we've got not just like small little bumps across it, but also larger bumps, like pimples. I don't want to call them pimples, but it's what they kind of look like. So the cool thing is about working with nodes, and the reason that so many artists love them, is that you can do so much with them. They take a little while to understand. Like at first glance, they're confusing, but once you realize that it's almost like programming. It's like taking this attribute and putting it into that attribute, and it's fun.
Why can't I do the bump on the vertex geometry and feed that to Eevee? Is there a way to do it that way? Volume? No. Settings? Custom properties? No. Okay, well, maybe it's not that one. Can I do a modifier? Add... have they got the bump modifier of some description? Excuse me. You'd think a deform of some sort would do the trick. Maybe not. Remesh, no? Alright, I'll skip that for now.
Fun, and it's actually creative, from an artistic perspective. You can do a lot with nodes. So what we can do is we can duplicate this noise texture, take the output of the object input, same one as there, and let's Control-Shift-Click on that using Node Wrangler. We can do that, and then set the scale to 200, right? And this is going to become our large scale bumps, right? Now, if we were to take the output of this and just put that into the displacement there, you would see that yes, it's connected to the displacement, but it has overridden this one, right? The small scale one. Let me just things get a little bit squishy on a screen when you're trying to show two things at once. But yeah, you can only put one in there, right? It just overrides and kicks the other one out. So what we want to do is combine the two of these. So because these are black and white values, this is actually very easy to do. So what we're going to do is add in a mix RGB node. So if we go, this is Shift A. Oh man. Always turns off. There we go. Shift A, and then go to Color, Mix RGB, and we're going to drop this in right here. And we're going to make sure we've taken the factor input of both of them. Not the color. It wants to use the color, but don't let it. The factor input of both, and I'm taking the factor, and go to Color, Mix RGB.
Where did my Mix RGB go? All the way down here. All right.
And we're going to drop this in right here. And we're going to make sure we've taken the factor input of both of them. Not the color. It wants to use the color, but don't let it. The factor input of both, and I'm going to put them in like so. Now, if we Control-Shift-Click on the mix shader, this is what the mix is outputting right now. If the factor amount here is set to 0, it's going to be using 100% of the top input, which in this case is the small detail. If it's set to 1, it's going to be using 100% of the bottom input.
God, his computer is so much faster than mine. All right.
And that's not good because we actually want both of them, but doing a blend isn't also the answer. Those of you that know, image software though, knows that you can change a blend type and it can be more than just like one or the other. So if you set this to add, what it's going to do is it's going to take the bright values from this texture and then apply it over the top of the values on the other texture. So that should be exactly what we want. And if we turn the factor all the way up to 1, then it should have that kind of look. So the small detail and then the larger detail sort of punching through it. So I'm going to control click on that shader there. And
all right, so now we've got to switch back to cycles to try and view this monstrosity. And we're getting a lot more, yeah, it's not bad. 8 samples, it's just so few. I can risk a few more samples. It makes no difference.
that's the look that we have right now. Now this isn't, it's maybe better, but it's still looking quite fake, right? It looks like you've got more detail, but it's all just kind of like mashed in together. And what we want is like very clear like lumps, like whoop, 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 like big bumps. So if we look at the factor input, we can kind of see why this is happening, because we haven't just got the white values, we've also got all different shades and things in between it. Well, if you remember, like when we worked with the color ramp node before with sprinkles, that can change, it can transform a value. Color ramp node is beautiful. We use it a lot, especially for things like this. So if we go Shift A, converter, color ramp, and if we drop this between our large scale detail and our add node, then let's just Control Shift click on it so we can just see what it's looking at. If I only want to have those white values, and I don't want to have too much of the other stuff, if I bring in this black slider there, then we'll get exactly that.
Okay, so he's stuck a color ramp there. Okay, let's do that. Let's change back to Eevee so we don't become very sad. Shift add, color ramp. Input color ramp? See, I forget where this one is. Converter? Color ramp. Converter color ramp. There we go. Yeah, okay, and so Control Shift click that one. And let's make that quite hardcore.
The top values. And then, if assuming that this is, oh gosh, what's it actually doing now? Okay, it does get it looks a little confusing, but I'll show you the final node setup at the end so you can copy it. But anyways, now if we have a look at the add node, this is what we should be looking at. So now you can see there's a clear division. We've got the small detail and the larger detail. And
okay. Yep, it's looking good.
Now let's have a look at the final shader, and you can see it looks a little.
So I'm assuming that the areas that aren't bottled here are just because it's clipping, because it's adding displacement. I feel like add is not what you really want. You want like a mixing sort of thing, like a half add and a half add, just so you don't clip.
A little bit cleaner, right?
Okay, but let's do what he's done there and render it out. So we're back to this one. Now we just wait for the computer to just have a picture fit because we're using cycles. And see that that's real chunky. That's too chunky. So, I mean, do that. Less chunky, yeah. So yeah, he's doing something interesting there. Is that, let's shove big gobs of stuff on on the top of the donut. Yeah, and so when I turn that down, it's probably, you know, probably do want to actually turn it up a bit. Oh, actually, maybe I do want to turn it down. And now let's go back to this because I turned this down, but let's turn it back up again. All right, I mean, it's weird.
Now you can turn, if you feel that the small detail is a little too high, which I think it is, let's turn that down to a scale of about 0.02. Or the other thing you can do, like the bottom input is the one which is always controlled by this. The top input is always at 100%. So if you actually want, in this case, we want the large scale detail to be the one which is furthest out. So I think it actually makes sense to put the large scale detail in the top input and then actually use the slider to decide how much of the small detail to let through. And now I think that actually has a better control, because we can actually have that kind of lumpy look and then bring in as much small detail as we want. So this is like basically putting like an opacity on the small detail of like 70%. And that's kind of cool. I might actually turn that up to 2000 for the small detail. And I think that's pretty good. Not too shabby. By the way, I hope you can't hear it, but somebody is vacuuming. It's a Sunday. I come in here to do some work before I go off on my trip. So I have to work on Sundays. And then the cleaners are here, of course. But anyways, the bumps are good. And I'm actually, I'm quite happy with this. I've tried like 50 different variations of how to make this donut, like the bump parts, how to make it look good. And I think this is one of the best. So yay, I'm glad it's worked for the tutorial. But it's right now it's only influencing the bump. And that would kind of be a waste, because most things in the real world, like if it's affecting the bump of this, it's also going to affect the color of it. Like if we look at the reference photo, you can see that wherever there is a bump, it's generally darker than the stuff underneath it. And I believe it's because it's like it's further out, and therefore it's got like more surface area, and therefore it's going to be hitting more new oil, and therefore it's going to be like a it's going to be cooked more than the stuff that's underneath it. That's my understanding of it. Anyways, so yeah.
I love that he's you know, done a whole lot of work on just like, oh, you know, how did donuts get cooked?
We could take the value of this. Actually, let's move this shader over so it's a little easier to understand. So this is the data that's contributing to the bump to solid. So what we want to do is we want to drive this into the base color. But just like before when we were using the single input, yeah, it'll only take one input, and we don't want it to look like a donut that was left in an Egyptian tomb for 2,000 years or something. I don't know. We want it to we want to influence our texture map, right? So we're going to do that in the exact same way. So we're going to use a Shift A. Mix RGB color mode. So I'm going to drop this in right here, and what I want to do is I want to take the output of this and I want to put this into the factor input. Okay, so let's just move this along. I'm trying to get it all in the screen, but I also want you to be able to see the details of what I'm doing here. So this add is going into the factor input. Now the factor input, normally there's a slider there, right, which will control the opacity, but if you replace that and put something into the factor input, that's going to make it act like a mask. So it's going to make it use the black and white values of this to decide.
All right, let's just hook that all up.
Which part?
Which one did he drag into there? He took the add node and stuck it into the factor input over here. Okay. So, and then this color, let's turn Eevee back on briefly. So we've got some CPU cycles for OBS. Okay, color goes in there. This color, I'm guessing, goes in here.
Be able to see the details of what I'm doing here. So this add is going into the factor input. Now the factor input, normally there's a slider there, right, which will control the opacity, but if you replace that and put something into the factor input, that's going to make it act like a mask. So it's going to make it use the black and white values of this to decide which parts of color 1 and which parts of color 2 to use, these inputs. So the reason I'm doing it like that is that I can now make this, and you can see that this bottom value here is now becoming the values that are sticking out. So if I was to set this to a darker value like this, you can see that it's the exact effect that I want. But even better, and this is why I've done it specifically this way, I can change this to overlay. And now it's actually affecting it. It's not just like a blanket, like, you know, opaque, like painting on top of something else. It's also being tweaked by the values underneath it, so it's like saturating it, and it's essentially making it look like it's burnt, which is the look that we want. Ta-da! And there we have our lovely, crispy looking donut. If it looks a little too saturated, you could maybe dial it back, maybe make it look a little bit.
Okay. That's looking pretty great. So does it, what do you use? Overlay. Overlay. Let's wait for it to load. That's looking pretty grand. Make it a bit darker. Not that dark, not that brown. Still pretty dark. Okay, so it'd be nice if I had like a multiplier in the factor, but that's all right. Hue. Swing it around towards red a bit more. Whoop. How dark can we get? I mean, we can get pretty dark. If I really saturate it. Yeah, that's pretty good. That looks great.
A bit darker if you wanted to. You could tweak these values forever. Anyways, that is the finished node setup. If you want to copy my values,
Switch
feel
to
free. I encourage
cycles.
you though to mix it up, and if you think you've got a better idea, go for it. Like learning and like venturing out and like stepping away from the tutorial path will really help you learn some of these and sort of solidify the methods in your brain. If that makes sense.
Yep, putting it in your brain hole. Good advice. I mean, you can sort of see the bump in EV, but let's switch to cycles very quickly. Saturated look is interesting. We'll keep it for now. It's like they've got little bubbles under the skin of the donut. I feel like I want to maybe increase that. Increase that scale. What do we reckon? Maybe that's too big. Maybe, what's that like? 1600, so make them a bit smaller. And smaller means more of them. Yep, you know what? I like that. The factor of 1 here makes big ones, but the factor of 0 does what? Just lumps. Okay, yeah, so that's like the graininess. Okay. All right, that's enough fiddling with it. Let's finish watching.
Sense. And yeah, it'll help you learn a lot better. So definitely get creative and venture away from this, but I do want to show that. Anyways, guys, that is it. We finished the donut. Yay!
Hooray!
This was obviously the first 2 levels, just focusing on the donut. Level 3, we are going to do a coffee mug, a glass coffee mug with coffee in it, and that's going to involve transparency, volumetrics, texturing, UV unwrapping. And then level 4, we're going to put both the donut, the coffee, we're going to add a brick wall, a counter table, as well as do like a little finished animation as well. So we're halfway through it, guys. I hope you will continue the series. Just because I know some people might be wondering why theirs doesn't look like mine, or like how can they improve it, I'll just quickly mention a couple of things that you can do to improve your donut. I think really the big one is the sprinkles. Like the size of your sprinkles and the number of sprinkles can really make a difference. So
well, let's turn the sprinkles on and have a look. See how we did sprinkle wise. Those are the little sprinkles. I want to turn on the icing. I'll turn on the plane. God, the plane really slows it down, but that's kind of cool. I think I need to make the white ones like a little bluer and shinier. Let's switch back to Eevee while we do that, so we don't like go nuts. I've got to turn sprinkles back on and look at our spherical sprinkle and edit the material for this. So let's make that a little lighter bluer. Perhaps, no, I think we wanted more of a, that sort of blue color, and we'll just drop the roughness down even further. Yeah, that'll do. Let's keep going.
Experiment with that. Definitely experiment with it. And the distribution, the distribution of your sprinkles and like the size of them. I think a big ball that might help it look kind of cool. Something else I realized after we did the weight painting was when you're in weight paint mode, I realized it's probably very unusual that you have a uniform, exact distribution of sprinkles all around the donut. It's kind of silly. So instead, I would suggest just like doing a couple of holes in it, right? Or areas where you would have less sprinkles than other parts, right? Because if you're sprinkling it with your hand, you're definitely going to get parts where there's going to be like way more sprinkles than others. So I feel like any variation and randomness you can add, the better.
Okay, I mean let's do that. Let's which mode did he use for that? Layout, particles something something. Let's get out of camera. Particles on this one. Particles. The density group. Weight paint. Object mode. Oh yeah, sorry. Weight paint mode. Okay. And then, how do we bring up the little thing? Wasn't there a little thing, like a tool window? So if I just control, this is gonna. How does he put the hole in? How?
Holes in it, right? Or areas where you would have less.
How does he do that? There's no minus thing like on the modeling.
Sprinkles in other parts, right? Because if you're sprinkling it with a uniform, exact distribution of sprinkles all around the donut, it's kind of silly. So instead, I would suggest just like doing a couple of.
Oh, okay. So you just scroll weight down to 0. I wish I could get this up on the top bar, but I don't know how he's doing it. But let's not go all the way down to 0, but let's drop it way down. And let's drop it down to 0 now and just clean up this bit here. I mean, where's the camera pointing? The camera's pointing there. So maybe we do want a bit more there. All right, let's try that one. Let's go back to object mode. What are we going to look? Dev. And if we hit camera, which is 0. So, okay, so I can just fiddle with it from here. So if I wanted to maybe have a bit more here. Oh no. Okay. Let's try that. See, that was pretty great. Let's keep going.
Holes in it, right? Or areas where you would have less sprinkles than other parts, right? Because if you're sprinkling it with your hand, you're definitely going to get parts where there's going to be like way more sprinkles than others. So I feel like any variation and randomness you can add, the better. So that's something that you can do. There we go. Looks a little bit more random, a little bit more interesting. And then the other thing is, of course, the material for the icing. Play with this. Like, I'm actually still not sure exactly what the correct value should be. I've gone through several iterations of it. I'm not sure if it should be like a stronger subsurface scattering, let more light through it, or less. So definitely play with it. Play with the color schemes. That's definitely going to help you. And then also, if you find that when you did the texture painting, if at the end of it you realize that you've got like too much of the white is coming through, like if you overdid the white painting, which is something that I did for the first few times I made the donut myself, a really quick fix, if you don't want to have to redo the painting, is right in between here. If you just add in a mix RGB node like this, and then you set the bottom value to just a blank, like uniform donut value, like that's the original value that we had, right? That orangey kind of yellow value. value, then this value here will decide like 0 is going to be 100% your original texture painting, and then any of this will kind of be like adding a solid color overlay in Photoshop. It's kind of like just adding that over the top of it. So you can like completely overpower your original texture painting if you want, or like a value in between it, but I happen to think mine looks okay. So that's the value that I am going to go with. And just for something completely silly to end on, because you made it to the end, guys. You made it to the end of level 2. Well, not the end. You've still got 2 more levels to go, but just something fun, and in the spirit of the old series, let's make this icing radioactive. So there is an emission value, in the material for our icing selected. That's the one, yeah.
Well, so before we go into that, I actually kind of agree with him. Like, I mean, I could do a render and find out, or I could just switch over to cycles. And, you know, it is a bit white, but then I've decided to go with a green floor, so it's a little bit white. It's not too bad. I think the problem is it's a bit too thick. Like, it's not quite the same as an actual donut. Do I want to fix it? Look, let's, for the sake of exercise, go in and change that. So we wanted shading, this guy, and we wanted to just add in shift add a mix RGB color, mix RGB, stick it in there. Color 2, we want to make it donut-y colored. And now we can change the factor, so I can, we'll make it donut-y colored without, I think I'm going to need to zoom right in on this so I get a decent sized thing. That's a pretty good donut color. And now if we just factor that down, we can get our stripe back. And we want mostly stripe. That's pretty good. All right, I like that. I like it. So let's go, back to layout. Oh, look, that's, what do I want? Okay. Right.
If I turn that up to white, that's now going to be glowing white, and then I can make this any weird color that I wanted to make it radioactive green, like was it Homer? He was eating a donut that was radioactive green, wasn't he? Something like that. Completely silly to end on. But thank you guys. I hope you will enjoy the next series. If you're watching this like live as I upload them, like to date, there's going to be a 2-week break because I'm going to Japan and Korea for a business and family trip. So there's a 2-week break, and then when I come back, you will be able to continue the journey.
No,
on level 4.
No, I need to know how to use Blender. Please, please, please tell me how. That's all right. I'm sure at this point I can figure it out.
Something completely silly to end on. But thank you guys. I hope you will enjoy the next series. If you're watching this like live as I upload them, like to date, there's going to be a 2-week break because I'm going to Japan and Korea for a business and family trip. So there's going to be a 2-week break, and then when I come back, you will be able to continue the journey of level 3 and level 4. But otherwise, click here when the video is available, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.
All right. I did notice that his little circles are a bit bigger than mine, and I think that might be nicer. So I'm just going to crank the circles just a smidgen. You can minimize now, because I think that's a good idea. So let's, sprinkles are still rendering, fortunately, behind the thing, but sprinkles sphere. Let's switch back to something that's not going to be so obnoxious. Okay. Particles. Probably help if I was on this thing. Particles. Let's drop that down to 3. Then we maybe fiddle with the seed to get a nice one again. Okay, that's pretty good. What else do we want to fiddle with? That looks really quite nice. I'm quite happy with that actually. You know, that's centered on the camera. You know, the light position's not too bad. All right, let's save it and let's render it in cycles with. Oh no, don't do that. Cycles. Let's keep that there. That'll do. All right, excuse me while I drop a whole lot of frames. So slow. So incredibly slow. Wow, that's laggy. So much lag. But, you know, we're looking pretty good. I need to upgrade Blender and get the denoiser plugin. But I think I'll take this and, you know, I might post it to Twitter or something. Yeah, maybe Senpai will notice me. Feeling pretty good about how this has turned out. I really like this little daub of icing in the middle here. That's quite nice. We're speeding up a bit now that we're rendering just floor tiles. You know, it's not bad. It's a good tutorial. I think he's done very well making this tutorial. Frames missed due to encoding lag. Skipped frames due to encoding lag. 97.2%. Wow, this must be horrendous to watch. So, yes. Twitch is telling me that it is unstable. All right, just the border. Come on, you can do it. All right. And we've done our donut. Nice work. Okay, let's ta-da! Let's save that. If I hit reset, are we still dropping? Why are we still dropping? The encoder is catching up. God, what? I don't even know. I don't even know what it's doing. All right, but anyway, hopefully this is visible, and I'm going to save this image. I better check my texts real quick. This is going to be called Donut 3. PNG save as image, because I don't want to lose that, because that took forever to render. All right.